Welcome to a very festive edition of the Staff and Graph podcast. I'm not sure if you notice, Rachel and I are not dressed normally. We are dressed as Snow Miser and Heat Miser, as we've talked about before. Snow Miser for me because I love the cold, and it's a lovely day today. Walked through a snowstorm, my favorite weather. Love it. And Rachel is Heat Miser. She loves the heat. And so I guess it's
the first of a few of our Christmas
if we had
episodes.
If we recorded this like one day later, we could call it like the 12 days of Christmas, because it's like 13 to 14 days to Christmas right now, like to Christmas Eve.
Oh, yeah,
so
true.
If we recording on Monday, if we record on Tuesday, we could call it this is the first of our 12 days of Christmas get-ups, but no, we had to mess it up. Anyway.
Alas, we had to stick to the recording schedule.
Anyway, Rachel, so before we get started, I just want to say, and I want to be able to confirm this, that Shohei Ohtani is not on a plane to Toronto right now.
No, and I know what the backstory is.
Yeah, so do I. It's, listen, I feel so bad. Look.
I feel really bad for John Morosi.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Listen, I was stupid enough to get my hopes up. I was stupid enough to get excited about things, and I just should realize now not to get excited about things in life. But I mainly feel bad for John Morosi, considering that, like, I from a journalistic perspective, if this happened to me, like, I would walk into the ocean and let the sea take me.
They deliberately fed him bad info. Him and the guy on Dodgers Nation.
Yeah,
got deliberately fed bad info.
I even feel worse
and then when he reached out to be like, "Hey, I was given this, and can you confirm he's not on the plane?" And they just straight up didn't respond. You could have just said no.
I almost feel worse for the Dodgers Nation guy. I think it's JP Hoonstra.
Yeah.
Because, like, yes, he's a baseball Writers of America member, but, like, Dodgers Nation is, like, it's not like it's an up and coming. It's like a blog, you know, and so, like. I imagine like someone using, like, I imagine, I don't know, like a Leaf using, like, someone at, like, Leafs Nation, you know, who's just, like, you know, early 20s, trying to make a name for themselves, coming up, is, like, so excited to get, like, the scoop of the century, and then, like, no one will ever believe what they say again.
Well, yeah, and I think, like, there is one villain in all of this, and it's CAA. Like, how you conduct business. First of all, Robert Herjavec might not want to make an appearance in Toronto for the foreseeable future, because that guy's going to get, like, to allow himself to be used in the fashion that he was.
Because he is a CAA client.
He is how a CAA client.
All happened.
All of it was, and then I have a bone to pick.
Okay.
Shai Davidi, John Heyman, Bob Nightingale.
Don't even
I just want to say, first of all, John Heyman being like Toronto has a small town feel to it outside of hockey. We have 3.5 million people in the downtown core, 8 million in the GTA. Like, a quarter of the country lives in Toronto or lives in Ontario.
We don't need to list those facts. Toronto is a top 5 major
and
metropolitan
maybe
city.
It has a small town feel because you can ask someone for directions on the street and they're not going to swear at you or take out a gun and potentially shoot you.
I don't know, man. If you're on this TTC, who knows?
But you know what I mean? Like, it has a small town feel because I can go to a mom and pop shop.
It doesn't,
and it can be fine. It's honestly, just say
it doesn't have a small town feel. It doesn't.
Just say you didn't want to cover a Canadian team. Just say you didn't want to.
I've lived in Toronto my entire life. I've lived in downtown Toronto since I was 18 years old.
I've lived in New York City and in Toronto. They have the same goddamn feel. It's just everyone in Toronto is way more polite.
But the downtown, like, I've lived in Toronto. I lived in downtown Toronto since I was 18 years old. Like, I've lived in, like, a place. That's where I've lived. And believe me, Toronto does not have a small town feel. But look, we don't even need to.
The whole, like, don't believe rumors. The MLB account tweeted it. It was your own, like, Rogers Sportsnet employees.
They had the ability to, like, squash it, and at the same time too, like,
the one thing I'll say though is if they told Rogers that he was coming and Rogers spent money to, like, outlay all of this, that's a lawsuit. Because if you tell somebody he's coming and they make all these preparations and it's just a ruse, you can be sued for that. And it's not like Shai Davidi's piece in particular pissed me off. because Rodgers actually pulled Barker and Blair, who were on
Yes.
vacation,
They pulled them
to
in.
put them on the radio. So clearly it's not nothing. So don't get on this high horse
Well,
and be
it's
like,
also
it's
like
a rumor.
It's not okay. So
that's
John
embarrassing.
Morosi is like MLB on Fox. He's on MLB Network all the time. He's also every week he's on Sportsnet.
Exactly.
So that's someone you welcome onto your airwaves. He's also like a very well respected insider
for hockey and baseball.
Mainly baseball. He very rarely has a hockey like insider take, but like, and then on top of that, what was I gonna say? Yeah, like, and then you like the actual MLB account, like you said, shared that in a graphic. Like you can't get on. Fans are supposed to engage with the content. I guarantee you Sportsnet, specifically for its MLB slant, had its best traffic week and best traffic day on Friday they've ever had.
I confirmed with somebody.
So
it was like their best day for traffic since the
2015 run, probably, or something like that.
For the Jays, yeah.
Yeah. So you can't get
since Bautista.
So while they're counting their money, basically, and while it's coming in, they're scolding fans for doing what gave them the money. Like it makes no sense. And then like
John Heyman and Bob Nightingale. First of all, John Heyman called Aaron Judge arson judge. So you just settle it down right over there.
John Heyman is the
I can't stand that guy.
I can't either. But John Heyman is the most like America
centric,
like specifically New York big market centric. I don't blame him for not wanting to go to Toronto because it's not in his backyard, and he'll have to like clear customs to go. Like see him and all that.
Humanity.
It's annoying, even though John Heyman is in New York, he writes the New York Post, and let me just tell you, the Jays are in the Yankees division, so he would see Shohei Ohtani coming through New York like 4 times a year. But also, like John Heyman, what I love about Bob Nightingale is he basically put the entire industry on blast in his article. I'm not sure if you saw it.
I love that article, but also that's the guy that's been wrong the most.
Yes, Bob Nightingale.
Pot meet kettle, man.
It's like a meme that if Bob Nightingale says something, the opposite will happen.
Yeah.
And look, he seems like a really nice guy, and I really appreciate like his
article was fantastic.
His article, because he was basically just like, we degraded ourselves during this.
We got used, which is exactly what happened.
I gotta say though,
everyone should be yelling at CAA.
I gotta say though,
Scott Boras was bad. This is way worse.
CAA, that's some damn fine agenting though. I gotta tell you.
No, it technically goes against business practices. Like they might get themselves sued.
Well, they have $700 million to fight that lawsuit.
No, that belongs to Shohei.
Well, and my favorite part of this all, so Shohei signs, 10 years, $700 million. And the biggest thing from a lot of the wealth people on TikTok, but like on Twitter, they say, yeah, well, Shohei Ohtani, he's only gonna be taking home $367 million after taxes.
I'm sure he'll manage.
Listen, no. If not even just he'll manage, if Shohei Ohtani pays the full tax for California,
I'll be shocked.
He should execute his accountant.
Yeah,
like he should not just fire it. He should like firing squad his accountant.
Yeah,
like it is like he will not. I guarantee you, he already has his account already has a system where he will keep like 90% of that.
You set up here's how you do it.
People figure it out.
Here's how you do it, folks. You set up a corporation, pay the corporation. You only pay 12% tax. That's how you do it.
And that's just like the first sort of method that he's going to use. I guarantee you.
He's also using the deferrals.
He'll use deferrals. He'll use the he'll use like offshore accounts. He'll use even like, some sort of residency in Japan, which I would imagine has lower taxes. Like he will go through all over. Like, believe me, it is not. He wouldn't have purposefully signed in the place that has the most income tax. Like.
And also, he seems like a pretty humble, like chill dude. Like he just takes photos with his dog. Do you think he truly cares when he's making that much money? Like that's your kids. Like
that's empire money.
Like he doesn't. What are the odds that a guy that's that humble even cares? Like to that extent, to the point where like Jeff Bezos level of money. You know what I mean? Like Jeff Bezos counts his pennies because he's a piece of shit. Shohei is not that. Jeff
Bezos is maybe on a different level because he's got like $100 billion.
But you know what I mean? Like, but that's what makes it worse. Is like he's penny counting.
And also
nonsense.
And I'm just gonna say something here, and it's gonna be controversial.
Mm-hmm.
That's an overpay.
Yes.
Like
You
Shohei
could do
Ohtani,
a lot with 700 mil.
Shohei Ohtani is like maybe the bet. Like will go down as one of, if not the greatest baseball players to ever play. Like if he had started his career in the MLB, he would undoubtedly be the GOAT by now. Still, $70 million for one player.
For a guy who just had Tommy John.
Yeah. So we don't even know if we like.
What if he can't pitch?
Like if he can't pitch again, you're paying a DH $70 million a year.
It's a problem.
And like
I would have honestly, and you and I were talking about this off, like leading up to this, and I remember talking about the fact I'm like, I'm not gonna be happy if the Jays pay more than $650 million because I think it's too much. That money can be better spent. Now I'm not even remotely confident that Rogers is gonna spend that money now, but
they're not. No, they were opening up the chest for Shohei.
I would rather like Cody Bellinger, James Paxton. Like you could get 3 or 4.
Wait, who are you gonna say that second one?
James Paxton.
No. He's washed, dude.
Okay, as opposed to a guy who won't pitch at all next year?
No, I'm saying they already have a good rotation.
But what I'm saying is like I would rather you spend it on 3 $20 million players than one $70 million players.
Absolutely. Or even like take a swing and get 2 $35 million players. Like the thing is too is that this was going to be so monumental that it was based like Shohei Ohtani coming to the Jays was going to shift Rogers' entire like business plan.
They were going to be in Japan.
But they were going to drop the NHL rights.
Yeah.
Like and I think they already were anyway, but they were going to drop the NHL rights and pivot like basically mainly to like baseball. Like it would have changed.
And that would have been smart.
Direction. It would have been smart because they talk about overpays. They way overpaid for the NHL rights. Like they thought that, you know, like a million and a half people were going to tune in for like a Stars Blue Jackets game on a Sunday night every week. Not happening. But yeah, there's
better ways to spend that money. I do want to point out the Cody Bellinger thing though. That picture,
it's an old picture.
Girlfriend posted. Yes. There is an entirely new skyscraper that is missing.
There's a new building that has been constructed and built.
Yeah, so that picture is at least 3 years old.
It's from 2019. People went back, so that's 4. Yeah.
Yeah, like that might just be like I had this old picture. We're in Toronto, but I couldn't get the picture of the CN Tower.
I think she posted. She also deleted that picture from her story. So, you know, sleuths. But she also posted, I think, a picture at like a Toronto restaurant. So I think they are in Toronto. However, she is like a model. Cody Bellinger's wife is a model. So shocking. Shocking. So she could just be a model for what's it called? Like she could just be.
She could be with elite model management.
She could be in Toronto for work. You know, like whoever. But it really was like we've never.
I've loved Cody Bellinger for like a while. Like I have a Cody Bellinger cup jersey.
He'd be great. Yeah. I have a connection to Cody Bellinger. I'll tell you after the podcast. But like I think he would be great. There's some interesting free agents the Jays go out and get. But like it's taken me a little bit of time to like refocus because I really did believe that like the greatest MLB player probably ever, the greatest baseball player probably ever was going to sign with the Jays. It did. I believed it.
It was an overpay though. Like if the Jays signed that deal, I'd be over the moon that they got him, but I'd also be like, this.
Well, I'd also be like, Vlad is probably gone. Bo is like
Matt Chapman's all the way gone.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't know. I think there's a way to approach contracts like these. And I mean, it is not good for baseball that he was with the Dodgers or the Yankees. Like, I'm sorry, but that is the most elitist way of looking at it.
The Yankees were never involved in this, so stop bringing up like John Heyman talking about the Yankees.
Nobody cares.
The Yankees weren't involved in this. He said he never wanted to play in New York. So get off the old high horse there.
Yeah, and also like people were like, oh, Orange County and Los Angeles, like they're not the same. If they're within 30 miles of each other, they're the fucking same.
However, like people are like, oh, he's not even gonna have to move. No.
He's moving.
He has to move. Do you have any idea how
traffic?
Like LA traffic and how far it is? Like, buddy, he's gonna move.
When LAFC plays the Galaxy, the name of the game is called El Trafico.
Yeah.
Because of the traffic.
So there you go.
So yeah, I understand that Anaheim and LA are different cities, but do not, like, they're closer than Buffalo and Toronto. Please get an all the way grip. They're closer than Toronto and Barrie, which is like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get out of here with that nonsense.
Anyway, so we just spent 20 minutes talking about baseball. That's great. Let's hop into hockey. Rachel, it was a violent weekend of hockey. It was a very
so surely
violent
there'll be
weekend.
multiple suspensions, right?
Surely the man who nicknamed himself the Violent Gentleman will handle it well. Listen, I think he will because first of all, if we had David Perron cross-checking, I believe it was Matthew Joseph.
No, it was Artem Zub, not even the guy who
it was Artem
made
Zub, yeah. So Matthew Joseph like obliterates Dylan Larkin
and Parker Kelly.
Yes,
it was like a weird coming together.
It was a double D-on.
It was a fluke. It was a fluke.
And so Dylan Larkin, by the way, out like indefinitely because of that.
But X-rays came back negative,
yes,
which is super, which means he doesn't have a broken neck.
So David Perron comes in and just decides to bury the shaft of his stick into the face.
He went heat miser.
He really did go heat miser. And so now David Perron, in the most nonsensical term, David Perron has an in-person hearing via Zoom.
So this is what I don't understand. And I would love to ask Alan Walsh this question. Okay, it's an in-person hearing. He's very obviously being suspended.
He'll be suspended.
I'm going to go with 6.
Yeah.
He's going to get suspended. So just fly to New York. That's where the offices are. Fly to New York, man. Like, you got to be here. None of this Zoom nonsense. I understand if Yzerman is there over Zoom because he's traveling with the team. But the actual player, you need to be there in person. Like, what are we doing?
No, but like, why are they even allowing that to be like an in-person hearing?
Is in person.
Like, that's an oxymoron. An in-person hearing via Zoom. It's not the same.
NHL.
This doesn't happen.
Not even the most baffling decision that department made this weekend.
This doesn't happen in any other
sport.
League. So then we had three like massive boarding hits. Basically.
Were they boarding, Mike?
Well,
do we know what boarding is?
I don't think we do. Because we had 3 like big sort of
Kyle Okposo certainly is like
hit instances, I will call it, where it was handled kind of 3 different ways. We had Vander Kane just obliterate
Jonas Brodin 0 penalty
from behind. That, first of all, like that was
a suspension. That
should 100% be suspension. It should be at least a penalty.
At least 2 minutes.
Like Jonas Brodin had, I watched it.
He's out indefinitely too, 4 to 6 weeks.
I watched it like even just here, but like before, like Brodin's back is to Kane the entire time.
It's very similar.
For like 10 seconds, basically.
Yeah. Then you have
he doesn't let up. Like you can't blame it on a
turn,
like a turn or like momentum was already going away. His entire back was face, and Kane just went in and obliterated him.
It's not like
no penalty.
There's been a few hit. The Jaden Struble hit's actually a great example of it, and they talked about it on the broadcast. He turns, and we've seen this with Luke Hughes like 4 times, and the reason that we're seeing this is because in minor hockey, they are teaching kids to turn their backs to draw penalties. These kids are going to break their goddamn necks. Can you not teach this, please? Like, I coach in minor hockey now, and I tell the defenseman, I'm like, if I see you do that, you are sitting until you learn not to do that, because I will not have you concussed, broken neck, broken arm, because you're trying to draw a penalty. That is a ridiculous way of looking at it. It's also a byproduct. And I can't believe this is going to come out of my mouth. Paul Bissonnette is right. It is a byproduct of not teaching kids how to properly hit at a younger age. You could teach them how to hit before they're allowed to hit. Like, you could teach kids how to hit and take a hit, right? How to receive one, starting at 8, but tell them you can't use it in a game until they're 13. Like, it's not hard.
Yeah. So that's basically... When I grew up in the GTHL, like AA, AAA, all that, and this is a new occurrence, like the turning the back. See, I would get suspended a lot for hits from behind because I would just hit kids from behind, because I was a psychopath. And
what a dumbass!
And I had a lot of anger issues back in the day. But these days, they're doing it as like a, I don't know, as like a strategy.
Yeah, like Jaden Struble went and turned his back, and you actually heard the Montreal broadcast. They're like, Alex Burrows needs to pull him aside, Stefan Robida, and be like, hey, kid, take an angle. Don't do that.
I know. Okay, so if anything, maybe if you wanted to call something on that, so then the Eric Robinson had a hit on
that was like the least bad hit of the three.
If you want to call anything, maybe it's charging, but he did glide, so like it just seems like
it's 2 minutes
it's
for
just
boarding.
A hit. Like,
it's 2 minutes for boarding,
maybe boarding, but like we'll see. Like I don't know. And then the worst one I think was Nick Cousins on Erik Gudbranson.
Yeah. Okay.
And that will lead us into a conversation about the Florida Panthers. I wanted like that is maybe the most like gutless, cowardly, like chicken shit thing I have ever seen from Nick Cousins. What a baby!
Like actually,
what an absolute baby.
So I want to talk about the Undertaker moment because that was far and away the funniest thing I've seen this year. Like Erik Gudbranson's like, I just got crushed. Then he realizes there's not a penalty. He's like, justice. Immediately rises from the dead and like starts pummeling Nick Cousins. And honestly, if the refs originally called it a 5, if based on Erik Gudbranson's reaction alone and the nature of the hit, that should have been 5 in a game.
Without a doubt. But
He was
reduced it.
From behind, his hands, if you actually watch it, his hands go directly between Gudbranson's numbers.
Yeah.
Like there's no shoulder anywhere ever.
and on top of that, like it was like full speed, like it was disgusting hit. And this is the thing that annoys me about the Florida Panthers the most. And hey, look, it goes to their credit because it ended up being Erik Gudbranson getting the most of the discipline aside from the guy who actually committed the crime, basically. But like they maybe aside from Matthew Tkachuk, because he tends to answer the bell, but none of them answer the bell. And this goes back to last year.
Yeah, I still think Matthew Tkachuk does really ratty.
He does ratty stuff, but at least he will like throw down. Like at least, like even during, like I remember even when he was in Calgary, like all of that stuff with like Cassian, like and everything.
Like he at least is willing.
But like every time, and this happens. So I saw them a lot last year. You know, just by covering every Leafs game, and even like a bit this year. Cousins. And last year when they had Gudis is the worst.
Cousins, Bennett, Gudis.
He will commit a crime.
Yeah.
Like this was Gudis last year, but it's bled over into Bennett and Cousins. They will commit a crime. Like they will slash you, hit you, cross check you, whatever. Then the player will go for retribution and the guy will either refuse to fight back or he will turtle, which was like, I saw that and I was like laughing and I was like, are you not embarrassed, Nick Cousins?
How are you? Like Nick Cousins can't be considered a tough guy
He's
anymore.
not. No, that is the most gutless, cowardly chicken shit thing I have ever seen. Are you kidding me? You obliterate a guy and then when he comes
from behind,
and then when he comes to get retribution, you go into a little ball like this and you're like, oh, don't hit me. Oh, like, are you kidding me?
I saw Erik Gudbranson like throw him down.
Have some pride.
My immediate thought, and like this is probably not the best thing to admit, my immediate thought was, I hope Erik Gudbranson beats the absolute piss out of him.
I don't want to sound like it's toxic masculinity here, but like be a man.
Yeah.
Like answer the bell. What are you doing?
So in real life, if you commit a crime, generally you have to go to jail. Generally speaking. You have to go to jail. Or we can actually go the other way. If you are in the mob and you do a thing, you have to answer for it.
Usually, yes.
In hockey, if you are lucky enough to stay in the game and not commit and not have a 5-minute penalty and a game misconduct away, Ryan Strome, knee on knee, not a dirty player at all, answered the bell with Mark Scheifele right away.
And he beat the crap out of him too.
Like that was a great fight.
It was a great fight, but
he knew that was a bad hit. I got to answer for it. And like Ryan Strome is not a tough guy.
No.
Nick Cousins purports to be this tough guy. The reality is he's chicken shit.
I did check it out though. Ryan Strome had three fighing majors last year.
Wild behavior.
I did not expect that. But yeah, Nick Cousins is supposed to be this big tough guy. He's on Florida.
He's a wuss.
That is the like maybe the most cowardly thing I've seen. You obliterate a guy when he's back turned, defenseless. Then he comes to get retribution, and you crawl into the fetal position
twice,
and you go like, "Oh, Mr. Ref, oh, Daddy, help me!" Like, Mom, come pick me up. I'm scared. Erik is hurting me. What a joke! Like. If you're like the Panthers were at least...
I did not have a single problem with what Erik Gudbranson
did. Me neither. The Panthers last year...
In fact, I think he should have been able to do it again.
I think the Panthers last year were at least endearing somewhat enough like last because they were just like so tough and so ratty and everything. This is the opposite of that.
They're
like,
not tough.
This is not
They're
tough.
ratty.
That's not tough. It doesn't take a tough person to sucker punch someone. It takes a tough person to like to
stand up after they
to when that guy gets hit and they go back at you to like answer the bell. And Nick Cousins failed that. Like that he probably saw how much bigger Erik Gudbranson is than him going like, oh, I messed up. Like,
yeah, you're
coward.
Here's the thing, and I'm kind of happy that it's Erik Gudbranson, because Erik Gudbranson is on April 11th when they play again. Erik Gudbranson's not like, I'm gonna fight your fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna go to Nick Cousins and be like, you are dropping your gloves, or once again, I am going to pound you.
Yeah,
and like
that's what she said. And so
like that,
yeah,
the Florida Panthers as a whole. Don't get me wrong, Paul Maurice's press conferences are amazing. I think he's
the biggest complainer in the league, though. Like Paul Maurice,
yes.
For the guy who is the coach of the dirtiest team in the league. I've never, and keep in mind, I'm
the
the
Florida
guy,
Panthers don't get to say anything anymore.
I am a big the refs don't deserve rights kind of guy. You know, like I don't like refs. I think they're a big part of what's ruining the sport, but. Like, if you are Paul Maurice and your team is the dirtiest, and that is your depth, like that is what has led to your success. You don't get to like do the fingers on the bench, the Paul Conda forever.
Yeah.
Pose. You don't get to go into the press conference every time and spin, you know, I don't know, like folksy yarns about how
like
you don't get to do
Panthers
it.
being like always in Toronto. My brother in Christ, Nick Cousins.
Also, just look at what do you mean always in Toronto? Do you think the Leafs have calls that go for them?
Like, there's a reason that they've been out of the
Leafs are the only team that gets called for instigator penalties in the league.
Yeah, like,
what are you talking about?
It's literally embarrassing.
What are you talking about? And I love this guy because he's a column. We call him a column maker. He makes your column after the game, which is great. But like, dude, this Panthers team, they're becoming the Bruins without the success, without the cup win.
Yeah.
Because I was like...
No, you know what? No, not even. Because at least Chara would stand up and like he would run guys, but he'd be right there. So
Sean Thornton would answer the bell.
Would do it.
Even really Gregory Campbell would answer the bell. Dennis Seidenberg would answer the bell.
It's really only Brad Marchand, who's the Panthers equivalent of that is Sam Bennett.
No,
Brad Marchand's
like
actually good.
They have like 5 guys who'd be the equivalent of that.
But like Nick Cousins is Nick Cousins is the Panthers equivalent of Trent Frederick.
Ryan Lomberg does this stuff too.
Yeah,
like
they have answer
all
the
these
bell.
guys.
Like at some point, and this is where it goes to like refs and the league. If he was originally called for a 5-minute major there, if you just leave that as a 5-minute major, which it should have been left as, if you're Eric Robinsoning this, because that's a way worse hit than what Eric Robinson did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I want to bring up this example. So last night in the Cowboys-Eagles football game, there was a catch that actually ended up being incomplete on the sideline. And instead of being like, we got to review this and we got to look at this, New York called down and said, you got the call wrong, reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
Reverse it, back to go, off we go. When we're talking about 5-minute majors, it needs to come to the war room and it's got to be like, that's a 5. Because at least then it's Chris King making the call and he's making the call across the board. Or you have your director of officiating, Stephen Walkham, in that war room every single night. Sorry, Stephen, you don't get a day off because this is what your job is.
I don't trust him.
But you know what? At least then it's the same person making the call.
So we know who to blame.
Right. So you don't have different refs and we don't have different things. Like, honestly, not Tim Peel, not Dave Jackson, like they work in TV, but have a former ref, have Don Van Massenhoven, who works for the league now.
Mm-hmm.
Put him in there. His job is 5-minute majors.
Sure.
That's it.
You're the executive vice president of 5-minute majors.
But then at least when we want consistency, it's one guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so like that's how you avoid, and they just call down and they go, that's a 5. Done.
Yeah.
And you don't want video review. The NFL thing last night, it took them less time to call down, to review it and call down than it did for them to walk back to the line of scrimmage. So don't give me this. It's going to take longer. That was super obviously a 5. It needed to be a 5. And so did the Kane one. They easily could have just called into Edmonton and been like, that's a 5. He's gone.
Speaking of Edmonton, the Oilers are back, baby. Who could have foreseen that they get
Not us.
anything like?
Not us. We didn't call this
If
at
I'm
all.
Jay Woodcroft, I'm punching holes in drywall right now because I go like literally it is like they're getting saves. Like I got fired because we had 860.
Yeah, so Stuart Skinner is still an 889.
Yeah,
But
but okay, then that goes to show how bad he has been this season because he has a 931 his last 6 starts and he still has an 889.
yeah, and he's given up 2 or less in 4 of the 6 starts.
Yeah, so he's been incredible and that's only brought it back up to an 889. That goes to show how bad it is.
Atrocious.
But 7 straight wins. McDavid and Draisaitl, they are back. Zach Hyman is a god. Like it's
Zach Hyman is now leading Evolving Hockey's model for the Hart in terms of most valuable player, and like kind of funny. But when you actually, I've watched all 7 wins. You actually watch, he's driving the play.
He's been great.
Offensively, defensively, power play, penalty kill. He is driving the bus. When he's on the ice, the Oilers are simply never in their defensive zone ever. So you look at this, their shooting percentage has regressed positively. It's still 27th in the league. So it still has a way to go, right? They're still going to be on the come up. They're only in front of the Devils and the Oilers have the worst save percentage at 5-on-5. The Devils need a goalie like you wouldn't even believe.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
It's bad. But so there's still hopefully some regression there. So they've won 7 straight and there's still positive regression to come. They rank 2nd in expected goals per 60 differential. 2nd in the whole league. Like their decor, Darnell Nurse has actually been pretty good this year. Cody Ceci, he's been good. Evan Bouchard has been absurd. That guy's in the Norris conversation.
So Evan Bouchard,
now.
Yeah, like he's over a point per game as a defenseman. He's been great. It wasn't too long ago that like he was getting the tar and feather Edmonton media treatment. It was like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I was seeing a lot of like
the Jake Gardner treatment.
He was like I was seeing a lot of like what do we do to get this guy out of here kind of thing,
which is crazy.
Or like do we healthy scratch him, stuff like that.
Bouchard's issue is that like he rarely makes mistakes, but when he does, they're in the back of the net.
It's the Jake Gardner stuff. Like he doesn't make a ton of mistakes, but when he does, he literally like
he obviously is a far more positive impact player than Jake Gardner is. But like, sorry, point per game defensemen don't grow on trees, so I don't care how bad you think he is. You're wrong. Like you're wrong.
Well, the good news is that they have Philip Broberg ready to take his spot just in case, right?
Nope.
Right? He's an 8th overall pick.
Yep.
He should be like the organization should be coveting him, and he's ready to thrive, right?
Nope.
Oh, well, at least they're like granting him opportunity to look elsewhere, right?
Nope.
Oh.
So they've totally tanked his value. So
Okay.
if they want to use him to acquire a goaltender, like, I don't know, John Gibson, they're not going to be able to do that. But the thing with Zach Hyman, I want to get he and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, obviously McDavid and Draisaitl get all the accolades. And McDavid has multi-point. He has more 3-point or 4-point games than he does 0-point games.
I believe that's an insane stat.
That's so ridiculous.
What was it? He had like, I think he has like 21 points his last 9 games or something. Like it's something absurd.
Yeah,
like that.
And Draisaitl has points in 5 of 7. But if you look at Zach Hyman, 12 of his 27 points have come since the last week of November. So everyone's sort of heating up. And the only, funny enough, completely useless player on their roster, like negative player, is Evander Kane. Like even Connor Brown has a higher value.
And Connor Brown
has 2 points.
One. He has 1 assist in 18 games.
But he's not a boat anchor defensively like Evander Kane is.
Yeah, I believe him and Ryan Reeves are the same points per game. Like exactly. Because they both played, I believe, 18 games.
Except Connor Brown's better defensively. So it's
yeah.
Yeah.
And he probably plays more than like 7 minutes a night. But yeah, like it's...
But Hyman's creating a ton of opportunities. Brian Nugent-Hopkins has been incredible for the Oilers. Like offensively, defensively, shorthanded, power play. Like
he's a perfect complimentary player. Like he's not gonna like lead. I think he's not the straw that stirs the drink, but he's a tasty drink. That's for sure.
Right. He is on a cup winner.
He's 100 point. He's 100 point secondary scoring.
Pretty much, right? Because if he's the top line center on a team, it's a problem.
That's almost an oxymoron. 100 point secondary scoring. But that's
like
him.
if he's the top line center, you're not getting this.
But if he's your 2C
or your 2 left wing,
or your 2 left wing or anything, like even if he's like your first line left wing, that's a pretty good team, I'd say. Like put Ryan Nugent-Hopkins up there, that's not bad. But
McLeod has been pretty good.
He's been better, that's for sure.
Yep, Dylan Holloway's been good.
Matthias Ekholm's looking like Matthias Ekholm again.
Yep.
You know, like which I think is the biggest. That's the biggest. Like if
so
that
they've got a
doesn't turn
top
around,
4 that's actually performing well, right? They have
the goaltending that's working well. They got the top 4,
and then the boys are the boys.
and the boys are the boys.
Miraculous, 7 straight wins.
There you go. Like
And they're not even getting lucky. Like they're not.
Whomst could have seen this coming? That you let your
They're a
star
good
player
team.
you let your star player get healthy because you rushed him back to play in a game that an outdoor game the NHL did decide to market to 3 people.
Yeah.
And your goaltender is not an 864 or whatever he was before.
Embarrassing.
Like and look at this. Everything's great again.
I still think they need to.
They absolutely need a new goalie. They're talking about calling Campbell back up, and then it was funny because they've talked about calling Campbell back up, and then like that was the talk of the town for a week. Then the Bakersfield Condors play, like Campbell starts and he has a stinker, and suddenly that all like then the report
Everyone
is,
shut up.
And then the report is okay. We're gonna hold off a little bit then on that. You know, like it's if you're really doing this on a day-to-day basis. Because if you send Campbell
He's not
down,
ready to come back up.
You send Campbell down. You're staying here for like 2 months. You're becoming the starting goaltender. You're basically gonna like that's gonna be your routine. And then once you've shown that you can be that again, then we'll send you back up. It's not like, oh, if he does well in this one small sample size game, then you'll call. Like it shouldn't change that.
No, that's
just
a
not
bad
the way.
plan. That's bad development.
That's not the way you run a team.
But that's also really par for the course for the Oilers.
Oh, yeah.
They suck at developing.
Yeah,
but I think John Gibson is kind of almost. We talked about this on Game Over Winnipeg last night.
Mm-hmm.
John Gibson, I feel like because Lucas Doschel was.
He's their guy now.
Yeah, he's going to be their guy. But John Gibson's getting the run of starts here, and I think it's because Pat Verbeek sees that he's on his game and he's going to be able to get a haul from either Edmonton or New Jersey for him. Why not? Why not? Right?
Just do it. Like first, Xavier Bourgault.
Philip Broberg, Xavier Bourgault, and a first-round pick. Thank you very much.
And then you figure it out. Like the cap-wise, you figure it out. If you have to, like, maybe include some extra assets in there to include Campbell.
Evander Kane.
Well, yeah. Like
I'm not sure I'd want him around a young team. That seems like a bad idea.
Yes. But look, the Oilers, good on them, man. They're bringing it up. Like we saw, not to pat ourselves in the back here, but like we saw everyone. You know what? Not even just us. Everyone saw this coming. They get better goaltending. They let McDavid and Draisaitl get healthy. You know, like they let Ekholm get healthy. Boom. We knew this wasn't a bad team. It was a team that was getting horrible goaltending that was poisoning everything else. They finally fixed that. Look at them now.
There you go.
Exactly.
Like and the boys are rolling. Their power play is back at the top of the league where it belongs. But I think for me, the difference between the Oilers this year and in years past is their underlying numbers are fantastic. Like this is it. They're unsustainably bad, and like they won 7 straight, and it's still like there's still positive regression to come.
Yeah,
they're absolutely making the playoffs.
Yeah, of course they are.
Like
unless a catastrophic injury happens.
I got Connor McDavid for the Hart at an embarrassingly high number because when he had that slow start and everything. And the Oilers at one point were plus 300 to make the playoffs. And I mashed that bet because I was like, there's no way. Like, what are we doing? And alas, like the thing about it is he was never going to stay down for long. And now he's in God mode. Like the goal he scored against Minnesota, goodness gracious. Like he walked around their entire team and their goalie and just deposited it in the net. And it's like one of those things where you kind of have to shrug your shoulders and you're like, yep, he's back.
Whatever like cryo chamber he's been in or whatever painkillers they're giving him or like mystical roots and vegetables they're giving him to heal
Chinese herbal medicine.
Yeah, like it's working. So good on them. All right, Rachel. Well, this is the end of the podcast. Before we head out, just want to give a shout out to our charity of choice, Jumpstart. Make sure to go to, we have the link in our bio. Make sure to go to Jumpstart, donate so kids can play, kids in economically disadvantaged communities can play team sports. It's very important. So yeah, Jumpstart, our charity of choice. Rachel, we will be back on Thursday.
We will?
Probably not in these costumes.
Probably in different ones.
Maybe, we'll see. But until then, we will bid you adieu. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. We'll be doing streams every week. Potentially move into multiple every week. That'd be great. And new Mike's Meals for Ones on YouTube. Check that out. I made
it was
chicken parm
really,
Sammy's.
really good.
Yeah?
I am gonna be using that recipe.
There you go.
And let's hope it snows because snow mice are over there.
Exactly. Well, it's a nice, cold, brisk day. I can't wait to walk home in the cold, brisk weather. Till then, we will see you later.